Good evening, everyone. Happy Saturday. I hope your weekend got off to a great start. Sorry, close it. Um, so, coming on live so we can talk about how to island hop in the Caribbean. So, before I get started, my name is TaNisha Webb. I am the owner of Urban Chic Travelistas, which is a boutique travel agency. And so travel is what I do. Hey, cousin, on Instagram. So, so that is what I do. I travel. I curate hosted trips and also private trips for individuals and groups. And so I wanted to come on the month of December and go live for 30 days in a row just to kind of share some different travel topics. And so tonight we're going to talk about how to island hop in the Caribbean. Um, and really anywhere because it's not only island hopping, but just making sure that you're taking full advantage of your trips when you are out and about and you're on vacation and things like that. And just some different ways that you can do it is actually to island hop instead of staying in one place. Now, the more traditional way of island hopping would be to take a cruise. That's the easiest way to do it. And basically, that's what you're doing. You're on a big boat and everything where you're sleeping, eating, having a great time, and then you're going to different islands. And depending on how long you are gone, how many days, then you'll go to anywhere from one up to however many islands and things. So that would be the most traditional way if we're talking about island hopping, especially through the Caribbean, and how you would do that. But when you are flying over to one of the Caribbean islands and things like that, you should definitely think about visiting other islands that may be close by, or even if you don't think that they're very close by, and things, it may be to your advantage because you are closer to different islands for you to actually factor it into your trip. So typically, people will spend maybe about 4 nights on into maybe seven would be the average time that you would spend on an island. Um, I always want to take advantage of how much money I'm going to spend. And a lot of times, especially when I'm at a different island and things like that, I'm thinking about how much is it going to cost me to actually pay for this flight. And typically, I'm looking at it in one-way flights from wherever I start out at to the island, and then from the island back. And if I'm going to spend a large amount of money, just in a flight because the flights are outrageous at this point in time, then why not look at other alternatives to actually get a less amount of flight from a different island if it is feasible for you to actually either fly over to a different island or maybe you take a ferry or, some type of, there's charter services, depending on how close the islands are to one another, that would be at your advantage. So you really have to kind of think outside of the box, and then also you're being flexible, right, with your time as well. I think that's one of the definitely the benefits. If you can be flexible when you depart and when you return, then you will definitely get more of your money's worth out of any vacation. So always just keep that open if you can. I know sometimes that's kind of hard to do when you're when you're working and things like that, and you're having to put in vacation days. But I'm telling you, you probably get the best rates if you're flexible and you're just looking at the different times or days that you can fly in and out of places. So, um, so one of my favorite places, and I am gonna do a separate live on on this particular area. But one of the places that I wanted to talk about was actually Grand Cayman, because I think that Grand Cayman, most people typically go over to Grand Cayman on a cruise, right? And I think that sometimes when you go over on cruises, because you don't have that much time in order to spend time on the island, you have a matter of maybe 8 hours or so. And that's kind of just what you see is maybe one excursion or whatever that you're doing on the island once you get off, or just shopping and things. And I think that people sometimes are underwhelmed by Cayman Island, but it's actually one of my favorite islands actually to visit. And so, even though it doesn't have like all inclusive resorts and things like that, it has resorts, it has a ton of different other options as far as housing is concerned there. And so, I'm not going to go like all into it because I want to do a separate live to kind of talk about Grand Cayman. But there's three islands that actually make up this area. It's the main land, which is Grand Cayman, and then they have Cayman Brac, and then also they have Little Cayman. And so those other two islands you can get over there by boat or ferry, or and things. And so they actually offer like different experiences, and that's really what you're wanting and stuff. So this is kind of the same area and things, but they're easy for you to get to, and everything. And you can even stay on these other two islands and things. They don't have as many hotels and everything out there, but it is doable for you to get kind of a different experience while you're in Grand Cayman. And the other one, if you've ever been to Aruba, Aruba has the ABC Islands. And so that also is kind of the other one that I kind of think of when I think of Grand Cayman as well, because it's kind of the same thing. And so you get a different experience when you go there. So if you're going to Aruba, you definitely should look into the other islands that are available. And let me see, because I have them written down so I can tell you what the other names are. Let's see, sorry. I skipped all my notes. Uh, I will find it. Oh, okay. Aruba, Bonaire, and Caraco. So, so those are the three, the ABC Islands and everything. So you could definitely go visit those. And the great thing about Aruba is that it's outside of the equator. So that means that they do not get any of the hurricane activities and things. So, and just for bonus, you do all of your U.S. customs actually on the Aruba side. So you go through their customs coming out, and then you check yourself back in. And so once you get back into the United States, you actually do not have to go through customs again because you've done it on that side. So that's just a bonus if you've ever not been it. Well, if you've never been to Aruba, and so it's definitely an amazing island. It's probably one of my favorites also um, to visit there. So one of actually the starting points that you could island hop is out of Puerto Rico, um, because they're kind of in the center of or close by other islands and everything, regardless if you're talking about the U.S. Virgin Islands or the British. and things like that. So if you've ever flown over to Puerto Rico and taken a cruise, then they actually have some of the best cruises because you're going to St. Lucia, you're going to all these other places that would cost you actually more money to fly over into if that's what you wanted to do. And so Puerto Rico is kind of one of those places that you could start out in, and then also just either fly over to one of the other islands and things like that, or depending on how far they are, there might be some charter service that you can actually purchase. And don't let that scare you, because there's actually some pretty reasonably priced charter services that comes with a skipper and everything to get you over to a different island, depending on how far it is. You just want to watch when you go on these Caribbean islands and things. So I the waters need to be calm, so you definitely don't want to go over like during hurricane season, which would be in June through November. But usually it kind of settles down probably by the last week of October. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you do these, unless you're going to maybe Aruba, that's outside of the equator. But other than that, I probably wouldn't recommend it that you do these during the hurricane season, because you just never know what type of weather you're going to get. And a lot of these islands kind of get hit hard depending on where they're located. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that. Um, when I went to St. Lucia, I think that was in 2016, maybe. Um, I decided that I wanted to go to a different island after I left St. Lucia. And so one of the things that I did was actually just did a search to see which islands were the closest and everything. And definitely, if you're going to St. Lucia, then one of the closest islands that you can visit is Martinique. And so definitely looking into that, and you can definitely fly over to Martinique for like a one-way ticket would be maybe $100 or something. So it's like really inexpensive, even though um, maybe it's not the best as far as the fuel and things like that. I would say you can probably find a charter company that could take you over there and things, but you can, look those type of things up and just make sure that you're aware of it. Now, with these COVID times, you definitely want to make sure that some of these smaller islands are not with their COVID. Uh, policies are and everything, and have that available to them. If they still require you to do COVID testing or whatever else, then you want to make sure that you're aware of these different policies and regulations going into it. But usually your passport is pretty much what you need in order to just to be okay with everything. So um, now, when I went to St. Lucia, though, I maybe you can call it island hopping, maybe not. But I ended up actually going from St. Lucia to Barbados. Found a really great rate at one of the resorts. The flight was right. I think I paid maybe a little bit over $100 for a one-way ticket there, and I enjoyed both islands immensely. And so, even if it doesn't seem like it's that close, which it really isn't that close to one another, and things, but hey, they're in the same sea somewhere. But even looking further out from wherever you're going can actually pay off as far as that's concerned. And like I said, I always make a decision based on what the flight is saying that it's going to cost me. And for me, I'm one of those type of people that I'm very flexible. If it makes sense for me to either switch my dates a little bit or to extend a date, and sometimes with some of these resorts, it actually depends. Sometimes they actually give you a free night depending on how many nights you're staying. So you can also look into that as well. But I'm always looking at, okay, so how can I get the maximum, not only experience, but how can I get more bang for my buck? If I'm going to have to pay for this high flight, then where else can I go, um, you know, and really pay the same amount um, altogether? So that's really what I'm looking at to make decisions on me actually going to different islands and things like that. I think also if you're one of those type of people that is easily, maybe I won't say easily bored, but you just like to experience different things, then this is really a good way for you to actually experience different islands um, and on the same trip and really maximize your trip. So definitely, if you can, just look at those type of things and just kind of go from one place to the next and everything, I think that you would like immensely enjoy it. I also kind of look at my flights, maybe not from, because I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I also look at the flights like what is the connecting city like, so can I go and actually get a cheaper flight if I flew out of Miami, or if I flew out of just a different city and things, and then did a domestic flight round trip to wherever I'm going out of, to the Caribbean. So there's different ways that you can definitely maximize your dollar as far as flights are concerned, and especially when you're doing like what they call multi-city, flights. So I do a lot of those as well, just to kind of break it up. Also, then I may actually do a workcation or whatever from like Miami or somewhere else, if that flight is going to cost me a lot, anyways. So that's another way actually of breaking it up, actually getting maximizing your dollars and things like that, or just taking advantage of actually spending the same amount of money, maybe a little bit more, maybe less, but then also you're experiencing different things. So when you are definitely thinking about one Caribbean island, think about all the other small islands, even if it's just a day trip. And actually, like in Mexico and things like that, they do that in different areas and things. Maybe it's not necessarily island hopping, but depending on what excursions you're doing and things like that, look outside of just the main island that you're on, and you can also do day trips to different islands, especially like I said in like Grand Cayman, and they have the other two smaller islands, and then you have Aruba, and they have two other islands that are associated with them that you can do day trips on, or you can actually go over and stay a couple nights, and and just kind of mix it up. So, and that way you actually kind of do experience more than just what that island it has to offer, right? But like I said, if you go big and you kind of do it like I've done it, and gone from St. Lucia to Barbados, two totally different environments, two totally different experiences, then you can certainly maximize, your stay and your experience with two different cultures, right? If you've been to both, then you know what I'm talking about as far as the different cultures and things like that, the different experiences, and just having fun. At the end of the day. So, and I did this all being a solo traveler. So, so I'm definitely like into, exploring and making sure that, that I actually am, maximizing my dollars. And that's the way that you can do it as well. Um, Definitely, if you are one of those type of people that have I won't say an issue planning, but you just don't want to plan it. You definitely can reach out to a travel advisor in order to help you to put all the pieces together because it can be a lot. And it kind of takes the stress out of planning all of it. If you're not one of those people that like to plan and figure it all out, then you can definitely reach out to Chic Travelistas, and we can definitely help you out to plan that trip for you, especially for me. I love cruises, I really do, and everything. But at some point, I just get tired of being on the cruise ship. So, and since it's not for me to like fall overboard or anything like that, for me, I prefer to fly over to different islands and things like that. Um, One of the other things that I wanted to bring up too is that if you are out of the Miami area, or if you can fly to Miami, you can actually take a ferry over to the Bahamas as well. So that's just kind of a bonus thing that you can put in your back pocket. You can take a ferry over. You can actually take one of the cruises over, and then you can actually add on an all-inclusive resort as well. And so that's one of the options also that you can do as well, or just go over on the ferry, for just a day trip, get an all-inclusive or a day pass at one of the resorts, and then you come back. So just keep that in mind as well, because you can do that. So, anyways, you guys, that's all I have for tonight. Just to talk about how to island hop in the Caribbean and making sure that you're maximizing your stays, if it's on the Caribbean or whatever. I did kind of talk about like my experience in Europe, and which is kind of definitely outside of the Caribbean, right? But it's kind of the same thing, like taking public transportations to different countries because they're all close. Well, this is kind of the same way, right? A little bit more expensive, but it's definitely doable, you guys. So definitely, hopefully, you guys will have learned something, and that you'll take some of this advice and do something with it. If you have any questions, you can definitely ask any of your questions in any of the comment box on my YouTube channel, that Travelista TaNisha, or the same name for Instagram, or my business page on Urban Chic Travelistas on Instagram and Facebook, and then my personal page, TaNisha Webb, and also my Facebook group, uh, Passport Ready Travel Club. So any of those that I'm streaming live, and if you want to give a comment, or you can tell me also what is your favorite islands that you like to go island hopping to. Um, so just for suggestions. So I would like to hear what you've done and what you suggest as well. So you guys have a great Saturday evening. And my name is TaNisha Webb with Urban Chic Travelistas. You guys have a great evening.